The sound came first. Bone against porcelain, sharp, wet, final. Then water, rushing, splashing, mixing with something darker. A scream cut short, replaced by choking, desperate, animal sounds that men make when they realize they've made a catastrophic mistake. "My arm! You broke my fucking arm!" The voice that answered was colder than steel, left out in winter rain. "You still have one left. Want to keep it?" Silence. Heavy, pregnant with violence already delivered, and violence still coming. Then the sound of water running, steady, clinical. Someone washing their hands like they just finished routine maintenance. The door opened. Footsteps. Measured. Unhurried. Boot heels on tile, fading into distance. Behind them, 4 men remained. Broken. Bleeding. Learning a lesson they should have understood years ago. Some doors, once you lock them, trap the wrong person inside. The C-130 transport touched down at 18:47 hours, 3 minutes ahead of schedule. The rear ramp lowered with hydraulic precision, releasing a wall of California winter air into the cargo bay. Cool, salt-touched, carrying the smell of ocean and diesel fuel, and something else. Memory. Captain Ilara Vaughn stepped onto the tarmac and let the wind hit her face. 34 years old, 5'7", 142 pounds of muscle, scar tissue, and decisions she'd live with forever. Dark hair pulled back in regulation bun. Gray eyes that had seen men die and hadn't looked away. Navy SEAL trident on her chest, earned through 6 months of hell that broke 80% of the men who tried it. She'd broken differently, harder, into something that didn't break again. 6 combat deployments: Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, back to Iraq. 127 confirmed enemy kills. Silver Star for valor in Mogadishu, 2 bronze stars with V device, Purple Heart she never talked about. The medals sat in a box somewhere. She wore the scars. Ilara shifted her sea bag onto her shoulder and walked toward the terminal building. No one waited for her. No welcome committee, no handshakes, no ceremony. She hadn't expected any. The people who would have met her were gone. Transferred, retired, dead. The team she'd left in 2021 had scattered like seeds in high wind. She was walking into a house where strangers lived now. The base looked the same chain-link fencing, same concrete barriers, same guard posts with bored sentries checking IDs, same motor pool lot with vehicles lined up like tombstones. But something felt off. Wrong frequency, like a guitar string tuned half a step flat. You couldn't point to it, but you heard it in every note. Ilara passed the old obstacle course. The record board still stood beside it, weathered plywood with names painted in fading letters. Third from the top, barely visible, E. Vaughn, 8:42, 8 minutes, 42 seconds. Still the fastest time anyone had posted on that course, male or female. She'd set it in 2018, running on a sprained ankle and 2 cracked ribs because the instructor said women didn't belong in special operations. She'd beaten the male average by 14 seconds. The instructor never said it again. Ilara kept walking. The parking lot ahead held maybe 30 vehicles, mostly trucks, a few sedans, 1 vintage Ford Bronco that looked older than most of the personnel on base. A man leaned against the Bronco, tall, rangy, late 60s but carrying it like some men do, wearing age like a comfortable jacket instead of a burden. Silver hair cut military short, face like weathered oak, lined deep around the eyes and mouth. Civilian clothes, jeans and a canvas work jacket, but standing in a way that screamed decades of uniform discipline. Colonel Brennan Greystone, retired. 68 years old, 48 of them in the Navy. SEAL Team 3, then 5, then instructor cadre. Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm. Classified operations in Central America he never discussed. The man had more combat experience than most modern operators would accumulate in 3 lifetimes. He'd been Ilara's BUD/S instructor, the one who'd pushed her harder than anyone, the one who'd also kept her from quitting when the instructors designed exercises specifically to break her. He'd taught her that some things were worth more than comfort. Their eyes met across 40 feet of asphalt. Neither smiled. Greystone pushed off the Bronco and walked toward her with the economical movements of a man who'd learned not to waste energy. "Figured you'd need a sit rep before you walked into this minefield," he said. No preamble, no small talk, just tactical assessment delivered like a briefing. Ilara set her sea bag down. "Last time you briefed me, I ended up extracting 12 hostages from Basra for 6 months, in summer, with broken air conditioning. And you brought all 12 home alive." Greystone's eyes held hers. "This time's different. This base has been compromised from within." The wind picked up, carrying the distant sound of someone running cadence. Young voices, full of confidence they hadn't earned yet. "How bad?" Ilara asked. "Bad enough that I came out of retirement to ask for help." Greystone gestured toward the Bronco. "Get in. We need to talk somewhere the walls don't have ears." They drove in silence for 10 minutes, leaving the base, heading up the coastal highway toward La Jolla. Greystone didn't speak until they pulled into an overlooked parking area, empty except for gulls and sunset. The ocean spread out below them, Pacific stretching toward nothing. Waves crashed against rocks with patient violence, wearing stone down one molecule at a time. Greystone killed the engine, stared straight ahead. 18 months ago, things changed, he said. Command rotation. New executive officer transferred in, brought some of his people with him. Culture shifted. Started slow. Little things. Women getting hassled during PT. Comments that were just barely within regs. Then it escalated. "It always does," Ilara said quietly. 3 formal assault reports filed in the past year. All dismissed. Insufficient evidence. Conflicting statements. He said, she said that somehow always resolved in favor of the men involved. Greystone's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Women started moving in pairs. Buddy system. Not official policy, just survival instinct. Ilara watched a wave explode against the rocks below. White spray, violent and brief, then gone. "You didn't call me back here to tell me about bureaucratic failures," she said. Greystone turned to face her. The lines around his eyes looked deeper than she remembered. "My granddaughter is stationed at Coronado. Petty Officer 2nd Class Caitlin Greystone, 24 years old, smart, tough, good sailor." He paused. "She's one of them, one of the silent victims." The words hung in the air like smoke. "She reported?" Ilara asked. "No, too scared. Saw what happened to the others. Watched their careers die while the men got protected." Greystone's voice stayed level, but something moved behind his eyes. Old pain, sharpened by new helplessness. "But she's not the only reason I called you." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, yellowed, sealed with red wax that had cracked with time. Addressed in handwriting Ilara recognized immediately. Her breath caught. "Kira," she whispered. "My daughter, Caitlin's mother." Greystone held the envelope like it might shatter. "She died 3 years ago. Official reports said suicide related to PTSD from Desert Storm service. They gave her a nice funeral, flag on the coffin, 21-gun salute, the whole parade." "That's not what happened," Ilara said, not a question. "No." Greystone handed her the envelope. "She left this, sealed, addressed to you. Instructions to deliver it only if something happened to her. I honored that instruction for 3 years. Then Caitlin stopped talking to me, stopped making eye contact, started moving like someone who'd learned to expect violence from around every corner." He looked out at the ocean again. "I opened the letter last month." Ilara turned the envelope over in her hands. The wax seal bore an impression of the seal trident. Kira had been good people, sharp operator, better friend. They'd gone through selection together, two of only 4 women in their class. Kira had finished third overall, higher than Alara. She'd been stronger than most men, Alara knew. The seal cracked easily. Inside, 2 pages of neat handwriting. Ilara unfolded them and read, Alara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. They won. 4 men. I won't name them here because I don't want this letter to disappear like my official report did. It happened 6 months after I filed. They said I wanted it, that I'd invited them, that a woman in special operations should expect attention and not be surprised when men respond to signals I was supposedly sending. Lieutenant's son, Admiral's grandson, 2 decorated combat veterans, against 1 woman with a history of anxiety they helped create. The report died in 72 hours, buried by people with more rank and better connections. I was offered medical retirement with full benefits if I withdrew the complaint and signed an NDA. I took it. God help me, I took it. I thought I could live with it. Thought I could compartmentalize like we were trained. Put it in a box, lock it down, move forward. But some boxes don't stay locked. Some things leak poison slowly until there's nothing clean left inside you. Dad doesn't know the truth. I told him it was PTSD from the Gulf. Let him believe that. He's already lost Mom. Doesn't need to lose his faith in the Navy too. But Caitlin's still there, still in. And I see how some of the men look at her. Like they're measuring, calculating, waiting for the right moment when she's alone and vulnerable, and they can take what they think they deserve. I can't protect her. I'm too broken now, too afraid, too compromised. But you can. You're not like me, Alara. You never broke. Not in BUD/S, not in Mogadishu, not ever. You're steel all the way through. The kind that gets sharper under pressure instead of shattering. If something happens to me, don't let them win again. Don't let the silence continue. Protect Caitlin. Protect all of them. Do what I couldn't. Fight back. Semper Fi, Kmagi. Ilara read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it back in the envelope. Her hands were steady. They'd been steady through firefights, in trauma surgery, and holding dying teammates. They stayed steady now. But something cold and final settled in her chest. 4 men, she said. Staff Sergeant Dalton Mercer, Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill, Petty Officers Wyatt Blackwood, and Rhett Callahan. Greystone recited the names like a target list. They call themselves the Wolf Pack. Mercer's the Alpha. Former Army Ranger, transferred after an incident in Fallujah nobody wants to discuss. Thornhill's the political protection, Admiral's son, untouchable. Blackwood and Callahan are muscle and intelligence respectively. They're still active duty? All 4. Promoted since Kira died. Mercer made staff sergeant. Thornhill's being groomed for command. Greystone's voice could have etched glass. They're predators who learn the system protects them as long as they're careful. As long as they pick the right victims. As long as there's no evidence that can't be explained away. Ilara looked at the envelope in her hands. Kira's last words, last request. What do you need me to do? What I can't, Greystone met her eyes. I'm too old, too retired, too related to Caitlin. Anything I do looks like family vendetta or senile grandfather seeing threats that aren't there. But you, he didn't finish, didn't need to. Ilara was active duty, decorated, credible. Not family, but close enough to care, close enough to act. Tell me about their pattern, she said. They talked until full dark. Greystone had done his reconnaissance. 3 months of careful observation. Interviews with women who'd talked to a trusted grandfather figure, piecing together a picture of systematic predation disguised as base life. The wolf pack hunted in a specific territory, east wing of the barracks complex, bathroom facilities on the 2nd floor. 3 of the 4 stalls had been broken over the past year. Locks jammed, out-of-order signs posted, always maintenance issues that somehow never got fixed. One stall remained functional, the one farthest from the door, the one with sight lines from the supply closet across the hall. That's where they waited. The pattern was consistent. They identified targets, women who seemed isolated, who walked alone, who didn't have strong buddy system connections. They'd watch for weeks, learning routines, noting vulnerabilities. Then they'd strike when conditions aligned. After dark, when the hallway was quiet, when their target was alone and the witnesses were elsewhere. They'd done it at least 7 times that Greystone could confirm, probably more that never got reported. The 3 formal complaints that reached official channels had been systematically dismantled. Victim credibility questioned, evidence lost, witnesses suddenly unable to recall details. Lieutenant Thornhill's father had contacts throughout the Navy's legal system. Dalton Mercer had 3 Bronze Stars and a reputation as a warrior. The system bent toward protecting men like that, especially when the alternative was admitting institutional failure. "They've learned to be careful," Greystone said. "No cameras in that bathroom wing. Cameras in the hallway were disabled 6 months ago, still haven't been replaced. They don't use weapons. Don't leave marks that can't be explained as consensual roughness. And they always outnumber their target 4 to 1. 4 against 1, Alara repeated, in a confined space. They think that's an advantage. It is, for the person who knows how to use it." Alara's voice was thoughtful. "Confined space negates numbers, limits mobility, makes coordination difficult. 4 men trying to move in a bathroom stall just create obstacles for each other." Greystone smiled, thin, sharp, the expression of a man recognizing a former student reaching the right conclusion. "That's what I thought," he said. "That's why I called you." They drove back to base in silence. Greystone dropped her at the barracks, engine idling. "Don't do anything stupid," he said. "Wouldn't dream of it." "I mean it, Alara. These men are dangerous, connected. They've gotten away with this because they're smart about it." She looked at him, gray eyes calm, flat, the expression that had made enemy combatants throw down their weapons and run. "I spent 6 months in Mogadishu hunting warlords who'd been getting away with worse for 20 years. They were smart, too." She opened the door. "Until they weren't." "Ghost?" She paused. Looked back. Greystone only used her call sign when he was serious. "Be careful," he said quietly. "I already lost 1 daughter to these bastards. I can't lose you too." "You won't." Alara stepped out, grabbed her sea bag. "Because I'm not Kira. I don't break. I don't retreat. And I sure as hell don't die quiet." She walked into the barracks building without looking back. Behind her, Greystone sat in his Bronco and allowed himself something he rarely did anymore. He hoped. The mess hall smelled like every military mess hall Alara had ever entered. Coffee, bacon grease, industrial cleaning solution, and the particular anxiety of people eating while mentally preparing for whatever fresh hell the day held. She grabbed a tray and moved through the line. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit, black coffee in a mug that had probably been white once, but now wore the stains of 1,000 previous users. The seating arrangement told her everything she needed to know. Women clustered in the far corner. 8 of them, tight together, backs to the wall, eyes constantly scanning the room. They ate quickly, efficiently, like people who'd learned not to linger in exposed positions. Men dominated the center of the space, louder, more relaxed, sprawled out in their chairs with the casual confidence of apex predators who knew the territory belonged to them. Alara found a table between the 2 groups, neutral ground, sat with her back to the wall anyway, years of combat instinct overriding civilian dining arrangements. She ate slowly, watched, noted patterns. 2 women entered together, young, maybe 22. They moved as a unit, never more than 3 feet apart. One got coffee, while the other held the position in line. They sat with the other women, who shifted to make room without conversation. Buddy system in action. 3 men entered, swagger in their walk. They bypassed the line entirely, grabbing food directly from the serving stations with familiarity that spoke of long tenure and privilege. As they passed the women's table, one of them said something too low for Alara to hear. All 8 women went still, eyes down, no response. Prey, recognizing predators and choosing invisibility over confrontation. The men laughed and kept walking. Ilara memorized their faces. After breakfast, she checked in with admin. The woman behind the desk looked tired. Late 40s, wedding ring worn thin, name tape reading Cross. Sergeant Emily Cross, according to the personnel roster Ilara had reviewed on the flight. Captain Vaughn, Cross said, scanning her ID, welcome to Coronado. Your billet assignment is Barracks D, room 237. Here's your access card, base directory, and orientation packet. Thanks. Ilara pocketed the card. Question, how's the base gym? Still have the good equipment? Cross's professional smile flickered. Something moved behind her eyes. Calculation, assessment, decision. Equipment's fine, just don't go late. After 2,100, tends to get crowded. Crowded? Ilara kept her voice neutral. On a Tuesday? Yeah, Cross wouldn't meet her eyes now. Crowded. Some people don't like sharing space, especially with newer personnel. The hesitation before newer personnel spoke volumes. I'll keep that in mind, Ilara said. She turned to leave. Cross's voice stopped her. Captain? Ilara looked back. Cross was staring at her computer screen, face carefully blank. Laundry facilities in D barracks are on the second floor. West wing's usually emptier. If you need to do laundry, quietly. Their eyes met. Understanding passed between them. Woman to woman, survivor to survivor. Appreciate the intel, Sergeant. Welcome to Coronado, ma'am. Ilara spent the morning exploring, relearning the base geography with tactical eyes, noting camera positions, blind spots, choke points, fields of fire, old habits. In combat zones, you map terrain instinctively, marked cover, concealment, avenues of approach, kill zones. This was supposed to be friendly territory, but her instincts disagreed. She found the East Wing bathroom around 1100 hours, second floor, end of a long hallway with flickering fluorescent lights that created pools of shadow between illuminated sections. The hallway itself was 40 meters long, concrete floor, no windows, fire exit at the far end, alarmed. Ceiling cameras at regular intervals, except for 3 dead sections where the mounts remained, but the cameras had been removed. The bathroom door stood at the end of the dead zone. Convenient. Ilara pushed inside. Standard military bathroom. Tile floor, 4 stalls, 3 sinks, mirror running the length of the wall. Harsh lighting. The smell of industrial cleaner and something else underneath. Old fear. The kind that soaked into walls over time. 3 stalls had out-of-order signs taped to the doors. The tape was fresh. The signs were printed on standard office paper, not official maintenance forms. She checked each one. The locks weren't broken. They'd been deliberately damaged. Striker plates bent inward so the bolts wouldn't catch. Someone with tools and intention had made sure these stalls couldn't be secured from inside. The 4th stall worked perfectly. She tested the lock 3 times. Solid. Functional. She stood in the stall and looked around with professional assessment. 4 feet by 3 feet. Tight space. Porcelain toilet, tank on the back wall. No windows. One way in, same way out. A kill box if you were the victim. A kill box if you knew how to use it. Ilara examined the floor tiles. Fresh scratches near the toilet base. Scuff marks from shoes dragging. A small dark stain on the porcelain rim that someone had tried to scrub away. Not quite successfully. She photographed everything with her phone. 15 shots, different angles, close-ups of the damage, the scratches, the stain. Evidence that would never make it into official reports. Not through normal channels anyway. She stepped out and checked the supply closet across the hall. Unlocked. Inside, shelves of cleaning supplies, mops, buckets. and at the back, a small gap between shelves that provided a perfect sightline to the bathroom entrance. Someone standing here could watch, could see who entered, could signal to accomplices inside. Elara's jaw tightened. They'd built a system, planned it, refined it. This wasn't opportunistic violence. This was premeditated hunting, a trap constructed with time and care and absolute confidence that nobody would stop them. They were probably right, until now. She found Caitlin Greystone at 14:30 hours in the equipment maintenance bay working on a radio unit. The resemblance to her grandfather was striking. Same lean build, same focused intensity. But her movements were different, tight, controlled, like someone who'd learned to make themselves small. Petty Officer Greystone, Elara said from the doorway. Caitlin looked up, startled. Then recognition flickered across her face. She'd probably seen photos. Greystone was proud of his former students, kept pictures. Ma'am, she straightened, professional, but her eyes wouldn't quite meet Elara's. Can I help you with something? Your grandfather speaks highly of you. Something painful crossed Caitlin's face. He talks too much sometimes. He cares about you. I know. Caitlin's hands moved restlessly, finding busy work with tools that didn't need adjusting. Did he send you to check on me? He sent me to do a job, Elara said carefully. Whether that includes you is your choice. Caitlin was quiet for a long moment. Her hands stilled. When she looked up, her eyes held the kind of exhaustion that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. There's nothing to check on, she said, flat, practiced. I'm fine. Everything's fine. The base is fine. I follow protocols. Stay with my battle buddy. Don't go anywhere alone after dark, especially not to certain bathrooms. Everything's fine. The repetition of fine made it a lie. Your mother was my friend, Elara said quietly. Caitlin flinched like she'd been hit. Don't. The word came out sharp, almost desperate. Please don't. I can't. I'm managing. I'm okay. I just need to finish my rotation and transfer somewhere else, and it'll be fine. Running isn't a solution. It's survival. Caitlin's voice cracked, which is more than Mom managed. Silence filled the space between them. Outside, someone shouted orders, the sound of boots on concrete, normal base operations. Nothing about this was normal. The bathroom in East Wing, Elara said. Second floor. What happens there? Caitlin's face went blank, professional mask sliding into place. I don't know what you're talking about. 3 broken stalls, 1 that works, supply closet with a perfect sightline. Maintenance issues, they happen. For 18 months? Caitlin set down her tools with careful precision, turned to face Elara fully. Her hands were shaking slightly. She crossed her arms to hide it. Captain Vaughn, I appreciate whatever you think you're doing, but I'm telling you to stop. For your own good. These men, they're protected. They're connected. They've been doing this for years and nothing touches them. You can't fight the system. Mom tried. Look what happened. I'm not your mother. I know. Caitlin's eyes finally met hers, red-rimmed, exhausted. You're tougher, stronger, better operator. Everyone says so. But it doesn't matter. This isn't a combat zone. You can't shoot your way out. And if you try to fight them officially, they'll destroy you the same way they destroyed her. Then I won't fight them officially. Understanding dawned slowly on Caitlin's face. Then fear. No, don't. Please. If you do something stupid, if you get yourself court-martialed or worse, Grandpa will never forgive himself. He already blames himself for Mom. Don't make him carry that weight twice. Elara stepped closer, kept her voice gentle. Your grandfather didn't call me here to watch you suffer. He called me to end this, and that's what I'm going to do. How? By reminding them that some women bite back. Caitlin stared at her, searching for something. Hope, maybe. Or certainty. Or just the belief that someone gave enough of a damn to take the risk. The bathroom, she whispered finally. East Wing. They wait there. After 2,100 hours, they pick women who walk alone, who ignore the buddy system. They think it's permission, an invitation, like we're asking for it by not being afraid enough. How many? 4. Always 4. Caitlin's voice was barely audible. They corner you, block the exit, say things, do things, and when it's over, they tell you nobody will believe you, that you wanted it, that if you report them, they'll make your life hell. Did they hurt you? Caitlin looked down at her hands, knuckles scarred, defensive wounds. She'd fought back at some point, hadn't been enough. I survived, she said. That's all that matters. No, Alara said quietly. That's not all that matters. She turned to leave. Caitlin's voice stopped her. Captain, what are you going to do? Alara looked back, gray eyes, cold, final. I'm going to walk into that bathroom alone, after 2,100 hours, and I'm going to show them what happens when they pick the wrong target. They'll hurt you, or worse. No, Ilara's voice was gentle, almost kind. They'll try. She walked out before Caitlin could argue. Behind her, Kira Greystone's daughter stood in the maintenance bay and did something she hadn't done since her mother died. She allowed herself to hope. The sun set over Coronado at 1742 hours. Ilara watched it from the window of her barracks room, 3rd floor, west facing. Orange light bleeding across the Pacific, turning the ocean into molten copper. Beautiful, indifferent. The same sun that had risen over Mogadishu while she'd pulled a wounded teammate through 200 meters of hostile fire. The same sun that would rise tomorrow, regardless of what happened tonight. She turned from the window and began her preparation. Physical first. She changed into PT gear, black shorts, gray navy shirt, running shoes worn comfortable. Stretched methodically. Hamstrings, quads, shoulders, neck. Rotation exercises for joints that had been stressed and broken and healed harder. Her body was a tool. Tools required maintenance. At 1,800 hours, she headed to the gym. The weight room occupied the ground floor of the athletic facility, windows facing the main courtyard. Ilara entered and immediately clocked the occupants. 12 people, 9 men, 3 women. The women clustered together near the cardio equipment. The men spread out across the free weights like they owned the territory. 4 of the men matched the descriptions Greystone had provided. Staff Sergeant Dalton Mercer stood at the squat rack. 6'1", 220, built like violence wrapped in muscle. Blonde hair buzzed close, jaw that looked carved from granite. 3 bronze stars on his dress uniform, wherever it hung. Former Ranger. The kind of operator who'd learned that aggression usually worked. And when it didn't, more aggression filled the gap. He caught Ilara's reflection in the mirror and smiled. Predatory. Assessing. Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill worked through bench press reps nearby. Smaller than Mercer, maybe 5'11" and 190, but carrying himself with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. Dark hair, sharp features. Admiral's son. The political protection that made the whole operation viable. Petty officers Wyatt Blackwood and Rhett Callahan spotted each other on dumbbells. Blackwood was massive, 6'3" and 240, moving with the controlled power of someone who understood leverage and applied force. Callahan was leaner, 6 feet even, 180, with the watchful eyes of an intelligence specialist. The muscle and the brain. The wolf pack. Ilara moved to the pull-up bar and began her routine. Strict form, full extension, chin over bar. 20 reps, rest. 20 more. She felt their attention like heat on her back. New blood, someone said. Mercer's voice, carrying across the room, meant to be overheard. Captain's bars, seal trident, pretty. Ghost, isn't it? Thornhill. Heard stories, Mogadishu, the hostage extraction, impressive work. Ilara dropped from the bar, turned to face them. Her expression was neutral, professional. Appreciate the recognition, Lieutenant. Call me Garrett. Thornhill's smile was politician smooth. We don't stand on formality much here. It's a family environment. Everybody looks out for each other. That right? Absolutely. Mercer moved closer. Not threatening, exactly, just occupying space, making his presence felt. Base has protocols, safety measures, buddy system, especially for female personnel. After dark, nobody should be moving alone. It's for protection. Protection from what? Ilara kept her voice mild, curious. You know how it is, Mercer shrugged. Big base, lots of dark corners. Things can happen, especially to people who don't follow the rules. I've spent 6 deployments in combat zones, Ilara said. I think I can handle a naval base in California. Mercer's smile widened. I'm sure you can, just friendly advice, from one operator to another. Noted, she turned back to the pull-up bar, felt them watching, measuring, deciding whether she was prey or something else. Let them wonder. Ilara finished her workout at 1930 hours. Full routine. Calisthenics, weights, combat conditioning drills. She moved through it with mechanical precision, building heat in her muscles, preparing her body for explosive action. Because tonight wasn't about fitness. Tonight was about sending a message written in fractured bones and broken arrogance. She showered in the West Wing facilities, the ones Sergeant Cross had mentioned. Quieter, safer, only 2 other women present, both moving with the nervous efficiency of people who'd learned to minimize exposure time. At 20:30 hours, Ilara returned to her room and made the call. Greystone answered on the first ring. Tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing, he said. Can't do that, Colonel. Silence on the line. She heard him breathing, measured, controlled. The way you breathe when you're trying not to yell. Ilara, I need you to be in the parking lot tonight, 2,130 hours. Phone charged, ready to call the MPS if I give the signal. What signal? The word sunshine. If I say that, something's gone wrong. Call for help immediately. And if you don't say it, then stay on the line and listen. More silence. Longer this time. You're going to walk into that bathroom, Greystone said finally. Alone. Let them trap you. Then what? Fight 4 trained operators in a confined space? That's not tactics. That's suicide. It's not suicide if you win. Ilara's voice was calm, certain. You taught me close quarters combat, Colonel. You know the math. 4 men in a bathroom stall creates coordination problems. They'll get in each other's way. Limit their own mobility. I'll have interior lines, shorter distance to targets, and the element of surprise. They outweigh you by 80 pounds each. Weight doesn't matter if you can't apply it effectively. Confined space negates mass advantage, turns it into a liability. She paused. You taught me that too. I taught you theory. This is real world, real consequences. I know, that's why I need witnesses. Audio recording that can't be disputed. Women positioned where they can hear everything but stay safe. Ilara kept her voice gentle. I'm not going in blind, Colonel. I'm going in prepared. And I'm going to give them exactly what they've been giving others for years. Except I hit back. Greystone was quiet for a long moment. You sound like Kira, he said finally, right before she filed her report. Confident, determined, ready to fight the system. I'm not fighting the system. I'm bypassing it. That's what she said too. I'm not Kira. Ilara's voice hardened. I don't trust the system to protect me. I don't expect justice through official channels. I'm creating my own justice, with evidence so clear nobody can bury it. And if it goes wrong, then you call the MPS and tell them where to find my body. But it won't go wrong. How can you be sure? Because I've killed men better than these 4, in worse situations, with worse odds. She checked her watch. 20:45 hours. I need to make another call. Are you in or out? A long exhale on the other end of the line. I'm in, Greystone said. God help me, I'm in. But Alara, if you die tonight, I'm going to find a way to bring you back just so I can kill you myself. Fair enough. She ended the call and dialed the next number. Caitlin answered on the third ring, voice wary. Captain, I need you to do something for me, Alara said. It's going to be hard, but it's necessary. What? I need you and Petty Officer Calloway to position yourselves in the hallway outside the East Wing bathroom tonight. 25 hours. Bring your phones, recording mode, audio only. Stay in the alcoves where you can't be seen. Don't intervene no matter what you hear. Just record. You're really doing this? Yes. They'll hurt you. They'll try. Caitlin's breathing accelerated on the line, panic edging in. I can't. I can't listen to that happen again. I can't stand there while they... You won't be listening to what happened to your mother, Alara interrupted, firm but not harsh. You'll be listening to what happens when someone fights back, with training, with intent, with absolute refusal to be a victim. You can't know you'll win. Yes, I can. Alara's voice carried absolute certainty. Because I've been preparing for this fight my entire career. They've been preparing to victimize helpless women. We're not the same. Silence. Then quietly, what if they kill you? Then you'll have audio evidence of murder, and they'll go to prison for life instead of getting away with it. Alara softened her tone. But that's not going to happen, Caitlin. Trust me. I don't even know you. You know your grandfather, and he trusts me. That's enough. More silence. Alara could almost hear the internal struggle. Fear against hope. Trauma against the desperate need to believe that justice was possible. Okay, Caitlin whispered finally. Okay, we'll be there. Thank you. And Caitlin, after tonight you won't have to be afraid anymore. How can you promise that? Because I'm about to make them afraid instead. Alara ended the call, checked her watch. 2,055 hours, 35 minutes. She dressed carefully. Running shorts, sports bra, navy t-shirt, bare minimum. Nothing they could grab. Nothing that would restrict movement. Her hair was already pulled back tight, secured with multiple bands. She strapped her K-bar knife to her left calf. 7-inch blade, Marine Corps issue. She'd carried it through every deployment. The leather sheath was worn smooth, shaped to her leg. She wouldn't use it unless absolutely necessary, but having options mattered. In her right pocket, a tactical flashlight. Small, heavy, aluminum body that could crack bone if used correctly. In her left pocket, a hardened steel pen, another weapon disguised as everyday equipment. But her real weapons were simpler. Hands that had trained in combat arts for 15 years. Elbows, knees, head, feet. The porcelain toilet and sink. Every surface in that bathroom would become a weapon if she needed it. At 21:10 hours, she grabbed a towel and walked out. The hallway was quiet. A few people moving between rooms. Normal evening activity. Nobody paid attention to one more person heading to the showers. Alara descended the stairs. Second floor, East Wing. The hallway stretched ahead, 40 meters of institutional emptiness. Fluorescent lights flickered in their predictable pattern. The dead zones where cameras used to be gaped like missing teeth. She walked steadily, not fast, not slow. The measured pace of someone with no particular urgency and nothing to fear. Alcoves appeared at regular intervals, recessed doorways, electrical panels, maintenance access, dark spaces where someone could stand unseen. As she passed the third alcove, she caught the briefest glimpse of movement. 2 figures pressed into shadow, phones held ready. Caitlin and Fiona, bearing witness. Alara didn't acknowledge them, just kept walking. The bathroom door stood at the end of the hall, unmarked, ordinary. A portal that had swallowed screams, indignity, and hope. Not tonight. Tonight it swallowed something different. Alara pushed the door open and stepped inside. The fluorescent lights hummed, harsh, clinical. 4 stalls, 3 sinks, mirror reflecting her own face back at her. Calm, focused, ready. She walked to the only working stall, pushed the door open. The space was exactly as she'd measured earlier. 4 feet by 3 feet, tight, constraining, perfect. She set her towel on the tank, sat on the closed toilet lid, folded her hands in her lap, closed her eyes, and waited. 60 seconds passed. 90. 2 minutes. Then she heard it. The bathroom door opening. Slow. Careful. The sound of people trying to move quietly and not quite succeeding. Footsteps. 4 sets. Synchronized. Practiced. They'd done this before. Ilara didn't open her eyes. Didn't move. Just listened. Tracking positions by sound. Mapping their locations in the dark space behind her eyelids. 1 by the door, blocking the exit. 2 spreading to flanking positions. 1 approaching the stall. The overhead lights flickered once. Someone's hand on the switch. A brief moment of darkness. Then light again. Psychological warfare. Trying to create fear. Told you she'd walk right in. Mercer's voice. Smug. Satisfied. They always do. Think they're special. Think the rules don't apply. The stall door swung open. Ilara opened her eyes. All 4 men stood in view. Mercer in front, grinning. Thornhill to his left, expression calculating. Blackwood and Callahan flanking, blocking any escape route. Well, well, Mercer said. The ghost. All alone. No backup. No buddy. Just you and us and a locked door. Thornhill stepped forward, reached past Mercer, and slid the bathroom's main deadbolt into place. The sound echoed. Click. Trapped. You know, Thornhill said conversationally, we have protocols on this base, safety rules. You've been violating them all day. Walking alone, working out alone, now showering alone. It's almost like you're asking for attention. Begging for it, Blackwood added. Deep voice, certain. Callahan said nothing, just watched, analyzing, looking for resistance, for fear. He wouldn't find it. Ilara remained seated, hands folded, expression neutral. She let them look, let them think they had control. You have 15 seconds, she said quietly. Unlock that door and leave. After that, I will break you. All 4. And when medical asks what happened, I'll tell them the truth. You tried to rape a Navy SEAL in a confined space. Silence. Then laughter. All 4 of them. Genuine amusement. That's cute, Mercer said. Threats. Like you're in a position to make them. Honey, you're 5'7" and 140. We've got 400 pounds and 8 years of combat experience on you. This ends one way. Yes, Ilara agreed. It does. Mercer moved, fast for a big man, reaching for her shoulder. Hands that had grabbed women before. Hands that expected compliance, submission, fear. They found something else. Ilara exploded upward. Her left hand trapped his wrist before his fingers made contact. Rotated, 180 degrees of joint manipulation executed with surgical precision. Her right hand locked his elbow, pushed. The ulnar collateral ligament tore with a sound like wet cardboard ripping. Mercer's scream filled the bathroom, echoed off tile, carried into the hallway where phones were recording everything. Ilara didn't stop. She drove him forward, using his own momentum against him. His face met the toilet bowl at speed. Porcelain, unforgiving ceramic that had witnessed this violence before. Now it participated. Mercer's nose broke on impact. Front teeth cracked. Blood sprayed. Mixed with water, painted white surfaces red. Ilara held him there, submerged his face in the bowl for 3 seconds. Long enough to make a point, short enough to avoid killing. She released him. He collapsed sideways, choking, bleeding, one arm hanging at the wrong angle. Total elapsed time, 4 seconds. Thornhill lunged from the left, training kicking in, trying to overwhelm her with speed and mass. Ilara used Mercer's falling body as a shield. Thornhill collided with his partner. Both stumbled. She stepped inside Thornhill's guard, knee strike to the solar plexus. Perfectly placed. The diaphragm spasmed. Breathing became impossible. As he doubled over, gasping, Ilara's elbow came down on his temple. Precise, controlled, enough force to concuss, not enough to kill. Thornhill collapsed, vomited, curled into fetal position. Elapsed time, 8 seconds. Blackwood and Callahan moved together, finally understanding this wasn't what they'd expected. Coordinating, using their training. The bathroom was too small. They got in each other's way. Blackwood's larger frame blocked Callahan's angle of approach. They shuffled, adjusted. Ilara didn't give them time. She closed on Blackwood, ducked under his haymaker punch. The swing was powerful but telegraphed. Amateur hour disguised as combat training. His fist hit Callahan's shoulder instead. The impact spun Callahan into the sink. Ilara trapped Blackwood's extended arm, stepped past him, leveraged his momentum across her hip, and drove him backward into the toilet tank. The ceramic cracked. His shoulder joint dislocated on impact with an audible pop. The scapula fractured against unforgiving porcelain. Blackwood's scream joined Mercer's, a harmony of pain and shattered arrogance. Elapsed time, 14 seconds. Callahan recovered, charged from the sink, actually tactical this time, low, trying for a wrestling takedown. Ilara's K-bar came out of its sheath, not to cut, to strike. The pommel, heavy, hardened steel designed to break things. 3 rapid strikes, floating rib, kidney, base of skull. Callahan dropped like someone had cut his strings, unconscious before he hit the tile. Elapsed time, 18 seconds. Mercer tried to stand, blood streaming from his ruined face. One good arm scrabbling for purchase on the toilet. Ilara grabbed him from behind. Rear grapple, the kind they'd probably planned to use on her. She executed the sear escape sequence, dropped her weight, elbow to groin, full force. He screamed again, different pitch this time, higher, desperate, heel stomp to instep. Metatarsal bones crunched, gave way, reverse headbutt to his already broken nose. Cartilage and bone fragments driven backward. Mercer's scream became a gurgle. Blood filled his throat. Ilara spun, drove him forward into the sink. His face hit the basin. The ceramic cracked. Water gushed from damaged plumbing. She held his head under the cold stream. His good hand clawed at her arm. Weak, ineffective. "Say it," she commanded, voice calm, clinical. "Say you're sorry. Say you're a rapist." Mercer gurgled, blood and water mixing, choking him. "Say it." "Sorry," he managed, liquid, broken. "Sorry, sorry, please." She released him. He collapsed, curled around his injuries, sobbing. Elapsed time, 31 seconds. Thornhill tried crawling toward the door, still conscious, still trying to escape. Ilara walked over, grabbed his ankle, dragged him back like a parent retrieving an errant child. "No," he gasped. "No, no, please, my father." "Your father isn't here." Ilara positioned all 4 men in her line of sight, all conscious now in varying degrees, all broken, all terrified. "Just you, just me, just consequences." She surveyed her work, clinical assessment. Mercer, broken nose, shattered teeth, dislocated elbow, probable concussion, crushed instep. Thornhill, concussion, vomiting, likely diaphragm bruising. Blackwood, dislocated shoulder, fractured scapula, cracked ribs. Callahan, concussion, broken ribs, kidney contusion. None of them dead, all of them permanently marked. All of them learning a lesson they should have understood years ago. Ilara walked to the door, slid the deadbolt open. The sound echoed, loud, final. She turned to face them one last time. "You wanted me alone," she said quietly. "Isolated, vulnerable. You got your wish. How does it feel? No one answered. They were too busy bleeding. Ilara walked to the sink, turned on the water, washed her hands, methodical, thorough. Blood swirled down the drain, disappeared. She checked herself in the mirror. Split lip where Thornhill had landed one glancing blow during the initial exchange. Bruised knuckles, nothing else. Uniform still presentable. She adjusted her shirt, picked up her towel, checked her watch. Total elapsed time from first contact to door opening, 1 minute, 43 seconds. 5 minutes, 17 seconds remained on the 7 minutes she'd promised Greystone. Ilara opened the door and stepped into the hallway. They were waiting. Not just Caitlin and Fiona, 14 women, lined along the walls, silent, phones held at chest height, recording, bearing witness. Some had tears on their faces, some looked stunned. All of them watched her walk past, and behind them, at the end of the hallway, 3 more figures. Colonel Greystone in full dress uniform, white, immaculate, service ribbons creating a rainbow of valor across his chest. Sergeant Emily Cross, no longer hiding behind a desk, standing tall. And Commander Patricia Hayes, Base CO, 51 years old, 28 years in the Navy, a woman who just learned the truth about what had been happening under her command. Her face was a study in controlled fury. Ilara walked the length of the hallway, steady, measured, the same pace she'd used entering. Behind her, sounds emerged from the bathroom. Groaning, crying, someone vomiting again. She reached the 3 senior personnel and stopped, came to attention, saluted. "Ma'am," she said to Hayes, "there's been an incident. 4 men attempted to assault me in the East Wing bathroom. I defended myself. They require medical attention. I recommend you call NCIS." Hayes returned the salute, slowly. Her eyes tracked past Ilara to the bathroom door, to the 14 witnesses, to the phone still recording. "What exactly happened in there, Captain?" "They locked the door, threatened me, attempted physical contact. I neutralized the threats using appropriate force given the circumstances. 4 against 1, confined space, no retreat possible." Ilara's voice was calm, professional. "I have witnesses who recorded audio. I can provide a full statement." "I see." Hayes pulled out her radio, keyed it. "This is Commander Hayes. I need medical and NCIS to East Wing Barracks, 2nd floor, immediately. 4 personnel down, possible assault situation. And get the MPS here now." She lowered the radio, looked at Ilara with something like respect. "You're confined to quarters pending investigation," she said formally. "But Captain, I'm glad you're okay." "Thank you, ma'am." Greystone stepped forward, looked at her face, the split lip, the bruised knuckles. His expression was carefully neutral. "Ghost," he said quietly. "You said 7 minutes. I finished early, Colonel." "I noticed." The faintest smile touched his lips. "Good work." Medical arrived 3 minutes later. 4 stretchers. The medics emerged from the bathroom looking shaken, loading broken men who'd learned a hard lesson about choosing the wrong target. NCIS arrived 2 minutes after that. Special Agent Morrison, no relation to the lieutenant, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She interviewed Ilara in an empty office, while 14 phones transferred their audio recordings to official evidence. While Commander Hayes began pulling personnel files and discovering buried complaints. While Greystone stood outside the door like a sentinel. While 4 men were treated for injuries that would mark them for life. The agent asked her questions for 90 minutes. Ilara answered every one, truthfully, completely, no embellishment needed. The facts spoke for themselves. Finally, the agent sat back, studied her. "Why didn't you call for help?" she asked. "You had your phone, could have called base security, the MPs, anyone." Ilara met her eyes. "Because I needed undeniable evidence. Not he said, she said, not conflicting statements. I needed them to commit, to trap themselves with their own actions. With 14 witnesses recording audio, with injuries that prove what happened, she paused. Every other woman who reported these men got buried by the system. I wasn't going to give the system a chance to bury me too. You took a significant risk. Yes, you could have been seriously injured, or worse. No, Alara said quietly. I couldn't, because I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm a Navy SEAL with 15 years of combat training. They were predators who'd gotten comfortable victimizing helpless women. We were not evenly matched. The agent was quiet for a long moment. For the record, she said finally, that was the most clear-cut case of self-defense I've seen in 20 years. I don't anticipate any charges against you, but this will go to tribunal for them. Good. Captain Vaughn, off the record? Alara waited. Thank you, the agent said, for doing what needed to be done, the way it needed to be done. They released her at 02:30 hours. Greystone was still waiting outside. He stood when she emerged, looked at her for a long moment. Then he hugged her, quick, fierce, the embrace of a proud father. Kira would be proud, he whispered. I'm proud. It's not over yet, Alara said. Court-martial still has to happen. It will. Hayes is furious. She's pulling records going back 5 years. Found 18 buried complaints. The system's going to burn, Alara, because you lit the match. They walked into darkness together. Above, stars wheeled in ancient patterns. Below, the base slept. But something had shifted. The predators had learned limits, and the survivors had learned they weren't alone. The sun rose over Coronado at 06:41 hours. Light spilled across the Pacific like liquid gold, indifferent to human affairs. The ocean kept its rhythm. Waves crashed. Gulls screamed. The base woke to routine, but nothing about this morning was routine. By 0800 hours, every person on base knew what had happened. News traveled through military installations like electricity through copper wire. Fast, unstoppable, transforming with each retelling, but maintaining its essential truth. 4 men had tried to corner Captain Alara Vaughn in the East Wing bathroom. She'd walked out alone. They'd been carried out on stretchers. The cafeteria was quieter than usual. Conversations happened in low tones. Eyes tracked movements. Women sat differently, straighter, less defensive. Not celebrating exactly, but no longer hunched against expected violence. The men were quieter too, especially the ones who'd watched the wolf pack operate with silent approval, who'd benefited from the culture of fear, who'd assumed the protection would last forever. Assumptions were being reevaluated. Alara ate breakfast in her room, oatmeal and coffee from the small kitchenette on her floor. She'd been confined to quarters pending official investigation, which meant no mess hall, no gym, no public appearances. Fine by her, she had paperwork to complete, statements to refine, evidence to organize, and she needed to let her knuckles heal. At 09:15 hours, someone knocked on her door, soft, hesitant. Alara opened it to find Caitlin Greystone standing in the hallway. The younger woman looked different. Not transformed exactly, but something in her posture had shifted. Shoulders back, chin up, eyes making contact instead of darting away. Permission to enter, ma'am? Caitlin's voice was formal, controlled. Granted. Caitlin stepped inside. The door closed. She stood there for a moment, hands clasped in front of her, clearly struggling with something. I wanted to say thank you, she began, then stopped, shook her head. No, that's not right. Thank you is what you say when someone holds a door. This was, she trailed off, searching for words adequate to the moment. Alara waited. Patience was a skill learned in sniper hides, waiting for the perfect shot. Sometimes the target came to you if you just stayed still. Mom's letter, Caitlin said finally. Grandpa told me you read it, that she asked you to protect me, to fight back. Yes. She was braver than I thought, braver than I've been. Caitlin's eyes were bright, not crying, but close. I've been so angry at her, for dying, for leaving me, for not being strong enough to survive. But she was strong. She fought. She just fought a system that was designed to break people like her. The system's changing, Elara said quietly, because of you. Because of her. And you. And every woman who survived and kept the memory alive. Elara gestured toward the small table. Sit. Tell me what you need. They sat. Morning light streamed through the window, illuminating dust motes floating in still air. Caitlin took a breath. I want to testify. At the court-martial, I want to tell them what Mercer and his crew did to me, what they did to others. I want my voice on the official record. That will be hard. They'll question everything, your credibility, your motives, your memory. I know, Caitlin's jaw set, determination hardening like concrete. But I watched you walk into that bathroom alone, knowing what was waiting. You didn't hide, didn't run, didn't let fear make your decisions. She paused. I'm done being afraid. Elara studied her, saw echoes of Kira in the angle of her jaw, traces of Greystone in the steel behind her eyes, and something new, something that belonged to Caitlin alone. Courage, the kind that grows in darkness and blooms when exposed to light. Then we'll make sure your testimony counts, Elara said. I'll connect you with the NCIS agent, Special Agent Morrison. She's good. She'll prepare you. Protect your statement. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This gets harder before it gets easier. The defense will try to destroy you on the stand. They'll make you relive everything. They'll imply you're lying, seeking attention, following my example for glory. Let them try. Caitlin's voice was quiet, absolute. They can't make me smaller than I've already been. The only direction left is up. After Caitlin left, Elara stood at the window and watched the bass move through its morning rhythm. T formations running in synchronized lines. Instructors bellowing cadence. The machinery of military life grinding forward. Her phone buzzed. Text from Greystone. Hayes wants to see you. 1400 hours. Her office. Bring everything. Elara texted back a single word. Acknowledged. She spent the next 4 hours organizing her evidence. Photos of the bathroom from her initial reconnaissance. Timestamps. Documented patrol patterns she'd observed. Medical records from her post-incident examination showing minimal injury consistent with her statement. And the audio files. 14 separate recordings. All synchronized. All capturing the same 7 minutes from slightly different positions in the hallway. She listened to them once. Just once. Clinically analyzing the sounds of violence she delivered with surgical precision. Mercer's scream, the crack of bone on porcelain, Thornhill's vomiting, the wet sounds of impact, and underneath it all, her own voice, calm, controlled, offering them a chance to leave before delivering consequences. The audio was damning, undeniable. No lawyer could spin this into anything but what it was. 4 men trapping a woman in a confined space. One woman defending herself with exactly the level of force necessary to survive. At 13:45 hours, Elara left her quarters and walked to the administration building. No one stopped her. A few people stared. Some nodded. Others looked away quickly. She ignored them all. Commander Hayes's office occupied the 3rd floor, corner position with windows overlooking the training fields. Elara knocked at precisely 1400 hours. Enter. Hayes sat behind her desk, 51 years old, 28 years in uniform, and currently looking like she'd aged a decade overnight. Dark circles under her eyes, coffee cup refilled multiple times based on the ring stains. But her spine was straight, her uniform immaculate. 2 other people occupied the office. Special Agent Morrison from NCIS, laptop open, taking notes, and a JAG officer Elara didn't recognize. Captain's bars, legal insignia, sharp eyes behind rimless glasses. Captain Vaughn, Hayes said. Thank you for coming. This is Captain David Richardson, Judge Advocate General's office. He'll be prosecuting the case against Staff Sergeant Mercer and the others. Richardson stood, offered his hand. Ilara shook it. Firm grip. Professional. Captain Vaughn, I've reviewed your statement and the audio evidence. It's the most clear-cut self-defense case I've seen in my career. He paused. It's also going to be a media firestorm when it goes public. 4 decorated servicemen, female SEAL, bathroom assault. The optics are complicated. The facts aren't, Ilara said. No, they're not. Richardson gestured to a chair. Please, sit. We have a lot to discuss. The meeting lasted 3 hours. They walked through every second of the incident, every decision point, every piece of evidence, building a case that was already ironclad into something absolutely unassailable. Richardson explained the charges: attempted sexual assault, conspiracy, assault on a superior officer, each man facing between 8 and 15 years in military prison, dishonorable discharge, loss of all benefits, permanent registration as sex offenders. They'll fight it, Richardson said. Mercer's already claiming you attacked without provocation, that he and his team were conducting a routine security check and you assaulted them. Thornhill's father is calling in favors, preparing character witnesses, building a narrative about an unstable female operator with a vendetta. Let them build whatever they want, Ilara said. The audio doesn't lie. 14 witnesses don't lie. And their injuries tell the story of 4 men who cornered someone and learned they'd made a fatal miscalculation. Fatal is an interesting word choice, Morrison interjected. You could have killed them. You had the training, the opportunity, close quarters, no witnesses who could have stopped you. Why didn't you? Ilara met her eyes. Because dead men don't stand trial. Dead men become martyrs. Their friends rewrite history, make them heroes cut down by a dangerous woman. I needed them alive, broken, humiliated, facing justice in front of everyone. Revenge, Morrison said. Justice, Ilara corrected. Revenge is personal. Justice is systemic. I wanted the system to work, so I gave it evidence so overwhelming it had no choice. Hayes had been quiet throughout most of the meeting. Now she spoke. Captain Vaughn, I owe you an apology. I've been base commander for 18 months. During that time, 18 women filed assault complaints. All of them were buried before they reached my desk. I was kept ignorant by my XO, by legal counsel, by a system designed to protect certain personnel. Her voice was tight, controlled rage barely contained. I failed in my duty to protect the people under my command. You didn't know, Ilara said. I should have known. It was my job to know. Hayes stood, walked to the window, stared out at the base that had betrayed its own people. I've requested a full Inspector General investigation. Every complaint filed in the past 5 years will be reviewed. Every dismissal examined. Every person who helped bury evidence will face consequences. She turned back. And I'm creating a new position, Director of Personnel Integrity, someone who reports directly to me, outside the normal chain of command, with the authority to investigate complaints independent of influence from XOs or legal counsel or anyone else. Hayes paused. I'd like you to take the position. Ilara blinked. Hadn't expected that. Ma'am, I appreciate the offer, but I'm a SEAL, not an administrator. You're a SEAL who just demonstrated that sometimes the direct approach solves problems bureaucracy can't touch. Hayes returned to her desk. I need someone who won't be intimidated, who can't be bought or pressured or convinced to look the other way. Someone the women on this base trust. That's you. What about the female SEAL training program? I was told you can do both. The training program is part of this, preparing the next generation, making sure they have the skills to defend themselves, and the knowledge that if the system fails them, there are other options. Ilara considered. The offer made tactical sense. She could do more good here than in another deployment, could create systemic change instead of individual victories. But it meant staying, planting roots, committing to something beyond the next mission. I'll need autonomy, she said finally, complete authority to investigate without interference. And I want Colonel Greystone brought in as senior advisor. Done. And I want Petty Officer Caitlin Greystone accepted into the next SEAL candidate class, if she qualifies. Hayes smiled, thin, approving. I think that can be arranged. Then yes, ma'am, I accept. Richardson closed his laptop. Excellent. Now let's discuss trial preparation. The court-martial is scheduled to begin in 30 days. I'll need you available for testimony, evidence review, and witness preparation. Understood. They worked until 1800 hours, building the case, anticipating defense strategies, preparing for a trial that would set precedent for how the military handled assault cases. When Alara finally left the administration building, the sun was setting again. Orange light painting the sky. Another day ending. Another beginning. Greystone waited in the parking lot. Same Bronco, same patient stance. He pushed off the vehicle as she approached. Well, he asked. Court-martial in 30 days. I'm testifying. So is Caitlin. The prosecution thinks it's a slam dunk. Good. Greystone studied her face. Hayes offered you something. I can see it in your eyes. Director of Personnel Integrity. New position. I accepted. Smart. You'll be good at it. I also got Caitlin into SEAL candidate selection, if she qualifies. Greystone went very still. You did what? She wants it. She's ready for it. And she's got the genetics. Ilara smiled slightly. She's your granddaughter, Kira's daughter. The talent's there, just needs refinement. She'll wash out, 80% due. Maybe, but she'll wash out trying. That's better than spending the rest of her life wondering, what if? Ilara paused. You taught me that, remember? BUD/S, week 3. I wanted to quit. You told me I'd regret quitting more than I'd regret failing. You didn't fail. Neither will she. They stood in silence for a moment. The base was quieter now. Evening routine setting in. Lights coming on in barracks windows. Life continuing. Thank you, Greystone said quietly, for coming back, for fighting, for giving her hope. Thank you for calling me, for trusting me, for teaching me how to be someone worth trusting. Greystone cleared his throat, emotion making it rough. What you've started here, it's going to ripple. Other bases, other commands. Women are going to hear this story and realize they don't have to accept silence. Good, that's the point. Just don't expect it to be easy. Change never is, especially institutional change. I know, but someone has to start. Might as well be us. 30 days passed with the inexorable patience of bureaucracy grinding toward justice. The court-martial convened in a hearing room normally reserved for officer promotions. 40 seats for observers. Everyone filled. Media presence restricted, but present. This trial would make news regardless of the verdict. Ilara testified on day 3. 4 hours on the stand. Richardson walked her through every detail. Her background, her training, the reconnaissance, the decision to act. The 7 minutes that changed everything. The defense attorney, a sharp-eyed lieutenant colonel named Hartley, tried to paint her as a vigilante, someone who'd manufactured a situation to justify violence. Isn't it true, Captain, that you deliberately violated base protocols by walking alone? No, I exercised my right to move freely on a military installation. You ignored the buddy system. The buddy system is recommended, not mandatory, and it exists because of the very predators I encountered. You claim you were trapped, but you could have called for help. I could have, but the women who'd been assaulted before me called for help. They reported through proper channels. They trusted the system, and they were destroyed for it. I chose a different path. You chose violence. I chose survival. They initiated violence. I responded appropriately. Hartley tried for 6 hours to break her testimony. Failed. The audio recordings corroborated every word. The medical evidence supported her statement. The 14 witnesses confirmed the sounds they'd heard. Caitlin testified on day 5, pale, shaking slightly, but her voice stayed steady. She described what Mercer and his crew had done to her 8 months earlier. The same bathroom, the same trap, the same threats. She'd survived by going limp, by dissociating, by letting them take what they wanted because fighting back seemed impossible. "Why didn't you report it?" Hartley asked during cross-examination. "Because I watched 3 other women report and get destroyed. Their careers ended, their credibility shredded, while the men got promoted." Caitlin's voice didn't waver. "I chose to survive, to finish my rotation, to transfer away. That was the best option available. Until Captain Vaughn arrived, until someone showed me that survival isn't the same as justice, and that women don't have to accept victimization as the price of service." 11 other women testified. Similar stories. Same bathroom, same men, same systematic predation disguised as base life. The defense couldn't shake any of them. On day 12, the prosecution rested. The defense presented character witnesses, officers who'd served with Mercer, combat veterans who praised his leadership. Thornhill's father testified via video link, describing his son's exemplary record. None of it mattered. The evidence was overwhelming. On day 14, the panel deliberated for 6 hours. The verdict came back unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted, not in cheers. Military discipline held, but the tension broke like a fever. Women in the gallery gripped each other's hands. Some cried, some sat frozen, processing years of fear finally validated. The 4 men stood as the verdict was read. Mercer's jaw worked. Thornhill stared straight ahead, face blank. Blackwood's shoulders sagged. Callahan looked at his hands. They'd expected protection, expected the system to save them like it always had. The system had other plans. Sentencing occurred the next day. Staff Sergeant Dalton Mercer. Dishonorable discharge, 15 years confinement, reduction to E1, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, registration as sex offender. Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill. Dishonorable discharge, 12 years confinement, same reductions and forfeitures. His father's career ended 3 weeks later. Forced retirement for obstruction of justice. Petty officers Wyatt Blackwood and Rhett Callahan, dishonorable discharge, 10 years each, complete loss of benefits. The judge advocate read the sentences in a voice that carried no emotion, just facts, just consequences. When the MPS led them out in shackles, Ilara remained seated. Watched the men who'd terrorized women for years shuffle past in prison orange. Mercer's arms still hung crooked. Medical had repaired what they could. The damage was permanent. Blackwood moved stiffly, shoulder blade healed wrong, range of motion lost forever. Thornhill kept his eyes down. The Admiral's son reduced to prisoner number. Callahan looked smallest of all. Intel specialists relied on invisibility. Hard to hide in orange. They'd been apex predators a month ago. Untouchable, protected, certain of their immunity. Now they were just convicts. 3 rows back, Caitlin sat with Fiona. Their eyes met as the MPs passed. Caitlin didn't smile, didn't celebrate, just gave one sharp nod. Acknowledgement, closure, the beginning of healing. Ilara returned it. Outside the courthouse, Greystone waited. He'd attended every day of the trial, sitting in the back row, silent support. "Justice delivered," Ilara said. He handed her an envelope. "This came for you, from the Secretary of the Navy." She opened it, read quickly. "Promotion to Commander, commendation for valor, and formal authorization for the Female SEAL Integration Program with full funding and personnel allocation." Congratulations, Commander Vaughn, Greystone said. You've earned it. We earned it. This was never just me. No, but you were the catalyst. The one who refused to accept silence as policy. He paused. When does training start? Next month, 18 candidates. Caitlin's among them. Think she's ready? We'll find out, but she's got something the others don't. What's that? She knows what it costs to be silent, and she's chosen noise instead. That kind of motivation doesn't quit easy. 6 months later, Alara stood at the edge of the obstacle course. Same course where her record still held, where she'd proven herself years ago. 18 women ran through it now, mud-covered, exhausted, determined. Caitlin Greystone pulled herself over the final wall, dropped to the ground, sprinted to the finish line. The timer beeped. 8 minutes, 39 seconds. 3 seconds faster than Alara's record. Greystone, standing beside Alara, smiled. Proud grandfather watching his legacy continue. She beat you, he said. Good. That's the point. Alara raised her voice. Greystone, new course record. Set the bar higher. Caitlin looked up, mud-streaked, grinning. Yes, ma'am. The other candidates cheered, motivated by success, by possibility, by the knowledge that the woman who'd broken 4 predators was now teaching them to be unbreakable. That evening, Alara walked the beach alone, watching the sunset paint the Pacific in shades of fire. The ocean didn't care about human affairs, didn't celebrate victories or mourn defeats. It just kept moving, wave after wave, wearing away stone through patient persistence. She thought about Kira, about the letter, about the promise she'd made to fight back. Mission accomplished. But the work wasn't finished, would never be finished, because predators would always exist, systems would always fail, silence would always be the easiest option. Her job was to make noise the better one. Footsteps approached from behind. She didn't turn, recognized the gate. Greystone stood beside her, silent for a long moment. Kira's birthday is next week, he said finally. 3 years since she died. I usually visit her grave alone. Usually? I thought maybe this year you'd come. And Caitlin, show her what her mother's sacrifice built. I'd be honored. They stood watching the waves, 2 warriors at rest, carrying scars and memories and the weight of promises kept. Do you regret it? Greystone asked. The bathroom, the violence, the way you chose to fight back? Alara considered. Honest assessment, no performance. No, she said finally, because silence protects predators, noise protects survivors, and sometimes the loudest noise is the sound of someone refusing to be a victim. That's powerful, Greystone said. You should tell that to the next generation. I plan to. Good, Greystone turned to face her, because there are 14 other bases with similar problems. Hayes is recommending your program go Navy-wide, making this the standard. Then we'll need more instructors. Already recruiting. Some of the women who testified are interested, want to turn their survival into other people's preparation. Survivors becoming teachers. Victims becoming warriors. Alara nodded. I like it. Me too, Greystone paused. You know what Kira would say if she could see this? See you training the next generation? See Caitlin breaking records? See the system actually changing? What? Greystone's voice was soft. She always said you had the core strength to change things. That trauma might bend some people, but you just get sharper under pressure. Guess she was right. Alara felt her throat tighten, pushed it down, stayed controlled. She had the same strength. Circumstances just overwhelmed her before she could use it the way she needed to. She gestured back toward the base. This is her legacy, not the way she died, the way we're making sure no one else has to. They walked back together, the base spread out before them, lights coming on as night descended. Somewhere in those buildings, women were moving without fear, walking alone because they could, because they'd learned to defend themselves, because the predators had learned there were consequences. In the training barracks, Caitlin was probably studying, preparing for tomorrow's evolutions, building toward the SEAL trident she'd earn if she refused to quit. In the administration building, Petty Officer Fiona Calloway was working late, Director of Personnel Integrity, processing reports that actually got investigated now, creating the system that should have existed all along. And in Leavenworth, 4 men wore prison uniforms and learned what it meant to be powerless, to be trapped, to face consequences they'd assumed would never come. The system wasn't perfect, would never be perfect, but it was better, and tomorrow it would be better still. Because one woman had refused to be silent, had walked into a bathroom alone, had fought back with 7 minutes of controlled violence that ended years of systematic predation. Justice didn't always wear medals. Sometimes it wore bruised knuckles and a split lip. Sometimes it walked out of locked rooms alone while monsters were carried out on stretchers. And sometimes it taught the next generation that the best defense against predators was prey that refused to be easy targets. Ilara Vaughn had been called Ghost for years, a call sign earned in combat, moving unseen, striking without warning, disappearing before the enemy understood what had happened. But that wasn't who she was anymore. Now she was something different, something new, a teacher, a commander, a promise keeper, someone who'd walk through fire and come out holding light for others to follow. The old guard had returned, and the new order had begun.